Good morning, everybody. I tried adjusting my Facebook settings through my phone settings and change from LTE 5G back to 4G and see if that made a difference. It did not. It did not. And often people ask me, why are you always in your car? Why are you always on the move? Because unless, like right now, I'm at a police station, I don't get viable internet. Anywhere I go, doesn't matter what cities in Canada, I only get straightforward, clear internet at Canadian RCMP detachments just outside of those, or government centers, or I cross the border into the United States, and then magically I have phone service like you wouldn't believe. Otherwise, I have to stay extremely mobile to shoot lives. And I want to go into international law as it really is accurately in the world today. What's going on with Israel, Canada, Australia, and some colonial assets Australia holds that all in togetherness. That means Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of the Marshall Islands, Nibiru, and a whole bunch of places. I'm sorry I said Nibiru, that's wrong. It's Niru. That's a planet that's hypothesized that I'm not going to get into that. But those countries, one of which is a population of 10,000, all share one thing in common along with Israel. They have genocide on their hands, blood of children on their hands. And they are the only countries in the entire world since World War II that has not been prosecuted for their genocide and war crimes. And yes, Canada, Australia are logged with war crimes. Look up the term Aboriginal. It is monumental with Canada. In fact, you find it in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as the government ordered the police, the military police of the RCMP, to apprehend Indian children from their parents, bring them to far-off locations against their will, by force, by gunpoint, where many would die, go through extreme child abuse, sexual abuse, and die. This goes all the way up to 2018, not 1818, 2018. This is the same for Australia with the same term, Aboriginal. They're logged in the United Nations Security Council, listed on many, many websites outside of the country of Canada, the country of Australia, the country of the Marshall Islands, the country of Niru. And folks, they all voted, 5 countries along with the United States of America under Joe Biden's presidency, all over the last week on 9, I repeat, 9 resolutions brought forward in the General Assembly. Every nation in the world voted against Israel's genocide in Gaza, Israel's resettlement of Palestine, forced resettlement by displacing people. Now, Elon Musk spoke out against it. He's lost tens of billions of dollars in the last 24 hours. His car electric company hit. A bunch of his holdings, SpaceX, hit because he's from South Africa. Now, his family, and I have no love for Elon Musk, his family left. He was a child. His family left South Africa during South African dismemberment, arrests, and redesign. That's right. The United Nations Security Council voted in troops, their blue helmets. Again, if you didn't know, and I know Canadians don't know, Every country guilty of genocide where you rape, murder, and kill children and women is classified as genocide. Not men. Sorry, that's not an international law. Men are not part of genocide, so countries can go around it by targeting the men in subgroups of humanity, and countries get around that. Countries that decide that they can unilaterally destroy women and children, murder women and children indiscriminately in the name of their military operation are guilty of war crimes. Since World War II, the allies of World War II, the Permanent Five, whom in international law are granted absolute veto over any nation imposing military occupations or military exercises that result in the deaths of children and women indiscriminately. Doesn't matter the name of the cause. Since World War II, many black nations, when I say that, of African descendancy, the black-skinned peoples. I think that's a fair assessment of what we're talking about here. When I talk about brown, we're talking about the Middle East. We're talking about all those of brown, Indian, and Middle East descent. Yellow, we're talking about Asian descent. And since World War II, folks, since World War II, the allies, the five allies of World War II, USA, Russia, UK, France, and China, have sentenced many, many black, brown, yellow peoples to death for indiscriminately killing children and women in pursuit of their military goals. It's defined as genocide in international binding laws. Now, all the red-skinned people listed as Aboriginal, or even those of brown-red mixed origin, or red-black-brown mixed origin, those defined as Aboriginal, have been genocided largely by British Empire colonial countries. And they have never, ever stopped. And more than that, they've never been held to the same justice system as absolutely every other race of humanity in the world post-World War II. And there are whites here too, folks. Germany was the first. Japan, yellow race, was the second. You've all heard of the Nuremberg trials. One of literally 84 more actions by the P5 you've never heard of. Japan went through it too. Their genocide is listed. Their trials are listed. Their sentences to death are listed. More than 1,500 persons put to death in Japan post-World War II for their crimes against humanity. Specifically, their crimes against women and children of all kinds of races. We can go on and on through other white countries, many other yellow countries, many other black countries, massive black raced countries of African origin, or where they were forced to be populated through colonialism, put to death thousands and thousands of people, and even those sentenced to life, most never made the prison transfer. They either died in custody awaiting transfer, or they died during transfer. Thousands and thousands worldwide. Do you know who's never been prosecuted or ever brought to justice? Canadian politicians, almost all of the white race lineage of the British Empire, sworn to the British Empire. This is the same for Australia. And now, It is entirely the same for Israel. The only three countries not brought to justice. When Elon Musk spoke out and they quickly call him an anti-Semite, which defines Jews and Arabs by almost every nation and every national dictionary throughout the world. You can't find anti-Semite without Jews and Arabs. You can't. Show me one. There's no such thing. No such thing. So somebody's a complete liar. And only 5 countries voted against all 9 of the resolutions made last week in relation to Israel and Gaza. And those 5 countries are who with outstanding genocide? Australia, Canada, Marshall Islands, Nauru, and one more that again has a population of 10,000. Oh, and it's all in the Pacific West, out where Australia reigns supreme. Neither Canada or Australia has ever been brought to justice. Should they vote against Israel today, Canada and Australia lose USA's veto and UK's veto to keep them intact, meaning Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, and Jagmeet Singh will not be ever brought to justice on the world stage. As long as you have a veto from even just one P5 member, you stay intact. We are not governed in anything but radical regime, Nazified, genocidal maniacs whom admit their genocide but don't want to be brought to justice. Russia, China have logged all of Canada and Australia's crimes. So has the United States of America, so has the United Kingdom, and so has France. They zip their lip, they keep it quiet, and Canada and Australia continue on status quo as the elites who bring in all kinds of multitude of treacherous colored folks into their regime governments, who enact the same laws made illegal since 1945 and continue on their reign of terror. Unaccountable, unenforceable, as long as they maintain one world veto from one of the 5 allies. And right now, USA under the radical fascist Joe Biden, who's extreme, and he's not alone. We have Republican candidates too. Nikki Haley is another one who is an expert in international law and lies to Americans. And for the Americans out there in the crowd, I have a story for you today. A true story as old as 1873 all the way up to 1812. Canada's war with the United States of America, where they defeated you with the absolute tremendous might of countries like Australia and the United Kingdom, then Great Britain, who was a powerful, powerful foe. I'm going to take you on a trip in real American history that only one presidential candidate had the courage, a Republican candidate, a young man. Vivek came forward and he challenged Nikki Haley and all the Republican contenders on the truth of America, what America is and where America has gone wrong here, folks. America, War of Independence, 13 colonies, 13 colonies. They were not going to defeat the British Empire. They didn't have the entirety of the South. The South was not going to go with the 13 colonies. they were going to stand with the British Empire. But like Israel now today, in the Gaza Strip, indiscriminately bombing and killing, maiming and destroying all children, all families at will, don't care, storm hospitals, kill babies, kill everybody in the way. Get out of the way or we will kill you. That happened to the southern states. That happened to Georgia, Virginia, Louisiana, and more. The British Empire, with the support of Australia, with the support of Canadians, before Canada was Canada, it was the upper, lower Canada. It was the British Quebec. They all bombed the living hell out of the southern states. It's what unified USA. And post the War of Independence, it's what built the 50 states seen today. A war against the radical tyranny and out of control genocide. It is also part of where the USA gets its tremendous, tremendous song representing the nation. "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?" That didn't come from post the War of Independence. That came from the War of 1812. The United States lost against Canada, Great Britain, Australia, and all the might of the British Empire, much, much after America was formed on its road to the 50 states. And I encourage every American to start looking at the way things are and not as you're being dictated by a radical, fascist, genocidal maniac known as President Joe Biden, who is probably the worst president in American history seen for 200 years. The absolute worst. And after what I seen of Vivek on the stage against the Republicans, and as he stood against Nikki Haley, who was a UNSC rep under George H. Bush, you've got to wonder, what is America? Where are they going? Are they going to turn Americans into subjects? Is that where the Democrats are going with their green socialism and their radical, out of control, genocidal, colonial ways? As they vote to say, go ahead, Israel, liquidate millions of people from their homes. Go ahead, kill the babies, kill the women and children indiscriminately. They're savage animals. Well, I wonder if President Joe Biden was alive in 1876 or throughout the era of American build, establishing the 50 states and moving away from Indian wars and creating the Indian citizen. I wonder what would have ever happened with the Jay Treaty. What would have happened to the American Indian? Would they even be around today? I doubt it. I doubt it. I think Joe Biden would have exterminated every Indian in North America had his mentality and his love of the crown been implemented in early America. Imagine a Joe Biden in 1876 or a Joe Biden all the way up to 1812. Scary, unbelievable, real truth. It should terrify Americans as to what's being narrated with Israel. Because I can tell you folks, America's voted every time to put thousands and thousands of people to death. They've administered it with Russia, with China, with UK and France. Thousands of tyrants, genocidal maniacs, doing exactly what Israel's done and put them to death. Whites, blacks, yellows, they've always had everybody, browns, all in one standard. USA has never faltered. Excuse me. That is until Israel and what's happening now. Joe Biden flies in the face that is everything that is America, in America civil rights and American civics. It's truly terrifying. I know Joe Biden's finished. I know the entirety of the Biden administration, at least at the national security, the national justice, and all of it across all party lines, in mass majority, keeping their mouths zipped, keeping it private and in-house, but the leaks are overwhelming, that Joe Biden's got to go. Everyone knows he's out of control. He has made so many missteps as a radical racist fascist. It's unbelievable. He sounds like a UK crown royal family, like a Charles, King George of the past, the King Edward VII. He's made massive missteps and spoke out, proving that he is the KKK Democrat of old. He is the nuttiest of nutty presidents. And it's quick to see that clearly Canada, in all our political parties, jump to the Democrats' defense, jump to the socialist fascist narrative. Save my hide, Joe Biden. Because everybody else in a clear majority in the world wants us sentenced, wants justice on Canada's crown and all its political parties. This is a fact. And if you want to know the truth, even the mighty Elon Musk, who finally spoke out, it was shocking to me, on this truth, as an original South African, as a preferential South African who ran to Canada. At least he was a child. He may have not had any knowledge, but his father certainly did, and his mother. They knew to run to Canada, home of every crazy, radical, genocidal maniac. We've got the most Iranian nut jobs living the highest life in Toronto, Canada. And your governments who celebrated a Nazi, our Pierre Poilievre, who hung a medal around that nut job's neck, a convicted SS Nazi who should have been put to death, but found a home in Canada and got to live out his home as a hero in Canada. If that doesn't scream, what the fuck? I don't know what does. And now I'm in trouble because I didn't put an 18 plus. But I hope you all like how clear my video is. Oh, everything's great for my tremendous amount of monthly expense on my phone bill, as long as I'm at my local police station, just outside my local police station, or a government center. Does that sound like monitoring much? What are the chances that that's the truth? Why do all my videos break up, no matter how good my Wi-Fi, no matter how strong my signal? Outside of that, I can't speak these things unless I'm close to an RCMP detachment. Monitor much? Watch much? I don't know what to tell you, Canadians. I'm going to give one little piece here that's going to lead into tomorrow's video. Inequality of the person, Canada. What all your government officials tell you in Canada, and of course Australia too, that we're all about equality. All your regimes tell you that. But I have a lesson learned just in comparative tax analysis. If it truly was equality of person in Canada or a country like Australia, why is it inequality absolute in taxation? Why is it the Crown's taxes against you, me, and everybody is so radically up and down and disproportionately unequal amongst all of us? Why, when you compare a country like the United States of America, it's absolutely equal amongst all members of the feds and all members of the regions, the 50 states? Why is each state equal across the board in their application of all their taxes? Why is it absolute equality? And why is Canada absolutely unequal everywhere at every stage of class structure in Canada? Divide, change, different. Everybody. Not one universal equality amongst anybody. If you haven't figured out you're in a radical socialist fascist government ran by all political parties, liberal, conservative, NDP, Green, People's Party of Canada, Bloc, and we can go on, all the way to the communists. Communists older than communism. Explain that to me, Canadians. You can't. How is a party older than the founding of communism be communism? It's because it's called pre-communism. It's called constitutional monarchies. They bred it, as well as unions and all of it, long before USSR and USSA. They built their own versions in a new system of governments. Governments built on we the people. You know, us, all the people, as one, under one nation. We're going to make a set of rules for everybody. We're going to limit our governments. We're going to set rules of governance, how to govern. Oh, and accountability. Wow. None of that exists in the colonial institution known as Canada. We are the worst built. Australia is several layers down from us. Still brutal, evil, and wrong, but several layers below us, much after us. There's been many who have come and gone, who've been destroyed and dismembered by the Allies of World War II. It's not a matter of if, but when. There's going to come a day when someone like Vivek wins the presidency for the Republicans and restores civics and civil rights to Americans and brings them home. I hope at least at this run he won't probably make it, but I hope he doesn't quit. He's a young man. He's got a long way to go, and he spoke out with grand truths as I do now today. I don't know how many people I'm going to reach. I don't know how many have the courage to share. I know the government of Canada will not like this video. They're targeting everybody who tells you this truth. I've been very careful in this video to articulate absolute international truth, and I don't see how Canada can. I don't see how they could lynch me in respective for this video. They can censor you, I guess, but this is truth. Truth that the Liberals, the Conservatives, and the NDP are guilty of and deserve the international justice system. And we can go on like so many before us, but the day is coming. And when we look at World War III, most of the world knows exactly what I'm saying in the highest academic institutions, and so do American academics in America's highest institutions. They would never speak out, for it would cost them so much. But blessed for me, I'm just a dirty, third-class subject in the crown colonial evil state known as Canada, way down at the bottom. What's the worst they can do to me? We'll put you back in jail? We'll sentence you to a third-class existence? Well, newsflash, I'm already there. I weld for a living. I'm on the low man's totem pole. There's nothing else you can do to me that hasn't been done, and prison doesn't scare me. Not in the face of baby killers, that's for sure. You'll never get me to ever betray the fundamental truth of the Allies of World War II, which means I'm an ally. I will honor all of my relatives who served proudly in World War II and actually fought for the freedoms we should have today, but have been removed absolute by your reigning regimes. The Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP, and all the rest who would be if they got to power. That's my powerful video of truth in real international law as it really is. And you will find nobody able to come forward to dispute what I've said. It's truthful, 100% deadly accurate. It's up to you to share. It could cost you in your careers, your work. Your government can target your employers. I just don't care anymore. I will not support an Axis-style system manifesting itself, led by my regime in Canada, all parties assigned. I won't support the crown tyranny. I won't go back to the old world order, which means no human rights, no civil rights, no civics for anybody. Not as long as I live and breathe. Your choice, you choose. Share if you have the heart and courage. God bless. That's my video. Bye all.